Okay, so in the final match today in the Rugby World Cup, England were playing Argentina at the Stade Velodrome in Marseille, and this is the most bizarre game, and the worst game out of the lot, technically, but the most bizarre game I've ever seen. It had a red card and a yellow card in it, 3 drop goals, or 4 drop goal attempts, and a complete implosion by Argentina. England have won the game with a man down for 77 minutes, 27 points to 10. Ridiculous, ridiculous game. One of the most bizarre games I've ever seen, quite honestly. Um, England showed nothing in attack, let's be clear on this, yet they've won 27-10 because George Ford has scored all of England's points, including 3 drop goals. And it's those 3 drop goals that turn the game, and Argentina then implode. Argentina have had a complete meltdown. Argentina were that bad, they made an average, average England team look decent. I'm being honest. Argentina were that shocking with their handling and their discipline and their lack of direction. They've made a really bang average England side, who've had a shocking build up to this tournament with performances, look good. And the fact that only 1 try is scored in the game as well, with at one point both sides down to 14 players, is absolutely ridiculous. Now the Tom Curry sin bin, I want to be clear on this. I think World Rugby have been very reactionary in the rule changes in regards to high contact and head contact rather than proactionary. So yes, we know that bad tackle technique and bad clear-out technique has been allowed to infest the game for the best part of 20 years. Weak refereeing and suspension enforcement has allowed that to happen. The Tom Curry sin bin, it got upgraded to a red, and this is after just 3 minutes. And I'm not overly sold on this TMO review upgrading, downgrading of red cards and yellow cards. I just think the referee should go with his gut instinct, and then if at citing commissioner level they go, that is actually, we should upgrade that to a full red or downgrade that to a yellow, so therefore the player may or may not be allowed to play in the following game or games. That's different post match. After, if the dust has settled during a game, upgrading or downgrading, I think Tom Curry can feel hard done by. I think there's no intent to hit the Argentinian fullback square in the jaw. I think there's no intent to hit him high. He's obviously head to head, but there's a bit of shoulder in there as well. But there's no that is an accidental mistimed tackle. I think a sin bin should have sufficed. Personally, I wouldn't have wanted that to be given as a red. I think, again, World Rugby being reactionary. I don't like these sudden rule changes, not just before a major tournament like a World Cup. It's very knee jerk and reactionary by World Rugby. That is my view on that. Same with Santi Carreras' sin bin for the attempted charge down where he clips George Ford. I'm surprised George Ford hasn't had to go off for an HIA for that one, because the initial contact with Carreras' hip is in the chest, but then the rest of his body platters him in the head. So I'm surprised George Ford didn't go off for an HIA there. So if we are serious about head contact, I think Carreras, I think a yellow might have been on the harsher end of things. I don't think, again, he's deliberately gone there to clatter George Ford. I think they're both unintentional contact with the opposition player. But yes, it's an attempted charge down. Okay, admittedly, he's got his body angle wrong and he's cleared out the kicker. But these are both rugby incidents. I think sin bin was a little bit possibly harsh for Carreras. A red card is harsh for Tom Curry. And if we are serious about head contact and player welfare, I believe George Ford should have gone off for an HIA, which then would completely change the outcome of this game because he's not on the field to start basically digging England out of a hole. Because let's say that he fails that HIA, he doesn't score those 3 drop goals. So that's an interesting one. Think of it. Think of it. He has the most inspired performance in an otherwise average England side in an attacking sense. Defensively, England did their job. They conceded less penalties than Argentina. Argentina had better attacking ball when they were attacking. But George Ford summed up the situation very, very quickly. They're a man down. They've got to save the energy. They've got to have a stop-start game. just keep the scoreboard ticking over with penalties. Just keep it ticking over with penalties, because that will frustrate Argentina. And Argentina historically have poor discipline. They may get another player sin bin, and suddenly it's back to 14 on 14. So, yeah, England were a bit blunt in attack, but I think George Ford summed up the entire game brilliant. Now, Buffelli slots the first penalty following Curry's sin bin upgraded to a red card on 4 minutes. Carreras' sin bin's on 9 minutes. George Ford slots that penalty. A minute later, we are informed of Tom Curry's upgrading to a red. And then for 17 minutes, it's a scrappy affair. Neither side is gaining dominance. And then the first drop goal in 27 minutes. Then the next drop goal in 31 minutes. Both of them were opportunist drop goals, but George Ford has just dropped into the pocket. I don't think his teammates are expecting him to drop both goals. The first one's from about 45 minutes out, the second one's from 50. And they're beautiful, bang, straight, technically perfect. The third drop goal, I think he's a little bit more planned. He's called for that. But the first two, that is George Ford on his own, assessing the situation, going, this game's going nowhere. If we're going to have a chance to win, we've got to get points when we can. And it's those 3 drop goals that shock Argentina, because while he's doing this, Carreras is back on the field. He has a pop at a drop goal as well. 4 attempts at a drop goal, 3 successful. We haven't seen that for years. The last time we saw that was Johnny Wilkinson at World Cup level, I believe. That was in 2003. And then the previous time we've seen 3 or more successful drop goals in a World Cup match was Yanni De Beer in '99 against England in that infamous quarter-final, where, again, it was a very scrappy game, and Yanni De Beer decided to sum it up and ping 5 in total over the posts. So that's the moment the game turns. After half-time, Argentina at this point have completely imploded. Completely. I mean, we're talking utter mental meltdown. They can't even do line-outs properly. Basic infringements. The scrum's falling apart. When they do get the ball, they're trying to force the offload, and England's it's the middle third of the field. And then George Ford has now got his range in. Elliot Daly has 2 shots at goal that are hopelessly wide, so the scoreboard could have been bigger. It's 12-3 at half-time. So George Ford slots penalties on 45, 54, 58, 66 and 75 minutes, just regular, like a machine. They know they're not going to outdo Argentina in attack. If they've been down to 14 players since the 3rd minute. Energy saving, make it scrappy, make it stop-start. Base it on defence. Argentina implode. England's go, well, George Ford he's not missing anything. Let's frustrate the Argentinians. They'll be offside. They'll make us. They've lost the scrum. The line-out's a mess. We're getting easy penalties here. George Ford's going to slot them. And George Ford just summed up the game. You could see him commanding his players around, but Tuolangi has had a shift. The front row have put in a shift. Courtney Laws has put in a shift. Toje's put in a shift. In fact, the entire pack has put in a shift. The back line defensively have put in a shift. I mean, Johnny May barely touches the ball. So you could argue the wide players like Elliot Daly and Johnny May have barely got involved. So that's unfortunate. We didn't see at least, Johnny May. I would like to see Johnny May one-on-one, with ball in hand, running at someone. That must be frustrating when you touch the ball a couple of times, but it was a backs-to-the-wall job defensively. Argentina, eventually at the end, Rodrigo Bruni crosses for a try. The last 5 minutes, Argentina finally clicked an attack. It took them 75 minutes to finally string together a successful series of phases of play, and they get a try as a result from it. But the previous 75 minutes, apart from maybe the first 5 minutes, it was the scrappiest game, and it suited England down to 14 players. Argentina was so bad, they made an average England side look good. But if George Ford has to go off for that HIA and potentially fails after the Carreras collision with him, I think England do implode. Because I don't think it was the right situation for another fly half. I think George Ford was the perfect fly half for this situation and the perfect general on the field for this situation. I'm not sure if another fly half that England have or someone else in that position could command the team in such a way. And we can debate. Did England after George Ford goes off, do they actually, that last 5 minutes, do they actually lose that commanding presence? Like, you could argue, yeah. You could argue. You could argue that. But look, was it the best spectacle? No. Was it intense? Yes. Was it nerve-wracking? Yes. But Argentina, I don't know where they go from here now. They need a response in their next game because that was a mental implosion. Michael Chaker is not got much here, but he's going to be really disappointed with that performance. I think that's a polite way of putting it. Steve Borthwick is a coach under a lot of pressure, and a lot of people were predicting Argentina to smash England today. So for me, this is a shock result with the form going into this tournament. But England have ridden their luck a little bit. I feel sorry for Tom Curry. I actually feel sorry for Santi Carreras as well. I think both sim binnings, we can look at it and go, you know, I think Tom Curry he's mistimed his tackle. He's got it there too early, I think, and he's too upright. So his tackle technique and he's mistimed it. It's unfortunate. It is head on head, but that's head contact, and because he's upright, unfortunately, that's cost him a yellow being upgraded to a red. Carreras, yes, he's attempted to charge down, but I think he's got his leap slightly mistimed, and unfortunately, he's collected George Ford on the way through. And again, he might have a bit of difficulty when it comes to post-match, potential suspension, because that, ultimately George Ford plays on. I don't think Smith, if he has to come on then, I don't think England win the game. I think Smith would have been the wrong fly half for this situation, backs to the wall job, especially at this stage in his career. But George Ford wins England the game with those 3 drop goals. That's when Argentina completely and utterly have a mental breakdown. They're stunned. They don't know what to do. They're a man up and they're behind. So there we go. England have won 27-10 in a scrappy, but I wouldn't say technically poor game, but entertainment-wise, it was there. Tension-wise, it was there, and George Ford has pulled off a fly half masterclass. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts on the game below, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.